JOX 94.5, Damian Mitchell alongside John Saber on this 24th day of March. Hope everybody had a safe and wonderful weekend. The weather actually cooperated. Unless you're dealing with the pollen, then of course make sure you dope up on your allergy medicine. Be safe out there. But the first weekend of March Madness, and really and truly, I don't know if there's really much madness to really go with it. Everything that we had seen in the regular season on a lot of these basketball teams in college hoops, you're starting to see. You're starting to see it now as we know what the Sweet 16 will look like. For anybody that ever said that the SEC was overrated just because of, the early season loss, the early losses in the NCAA tournament, well, half of the teams that made it into the tournament are now in the Sweet 16. And we can't look any further than our own state. Both Auburn and Alabama will be punching that. Well, they've punched their ticket to the Sweet 16 after wins in the opening weekend. For Auburn, of course, we know they knocked off Alabama State, and that matched up with Creighton. And going back to Saturday, that game with Creighton, it was your typical, and I will say this for a lot of games in the NCAA tournament, they've been intriguing all the way through. And the better team just started to separate. Creighton, they lived and they died by the 3-point shot. And it was a lot of missed shots in key situations that Auburn was able to go back and answer. But overall, Auburn knocks off Creighton 82-70. And the 12-point victory, you saw some signs of improvement for Auburn, but there's still it's very puzzling how the best player on your team, or at least it has been for the regular season, is still not turning the page. I don't know if Janai Broom's necessarily 100%, but something just seems to be off when the engine that keeps the Auburn team going hasn't really been able to show up, but everybody else is starting to step their game up at the right time. And I think that for Auburn right now, you understand you have to feel confident of the depth. It's like, okay, if Janai is not going to put up this typical Janai Broom numbers, everybody else has to elevate. And they did. When you have Chad Baker-Mazar giving you 17, Tahad Pettiford, we know coming off the bench leading all scorers with 23, it's for a number one seed. And I think that a lot of you look at just at this point now with everybody being in the Sweet 16, you start to separate yourself. But I think if you're Auburn, okay, you know what the road is ahead of you. Now, you're not going to have the Alabama States anymore. Every team that you play now, forget the stat sheet. As long as we win, I feel like you should be confident moving forward. But there are things that you know that your team needs to do, and it really starts with Janai Broom. He gives you 8 points. He gives you 12 rebounds. But I think for him, I understand that he added the 3-point shot to his game, but you can tell that they're not falling. So at some point, you've got to be aggressive and get to the hole, which I think that Creighton, they did a good job of switching a lot of bodies on them. And they had a big guy, standing 7'1" that was chasing Janai up and down the floor. But I think collectively, if you're Auburn, you'll take it. Of course, you'll survive in advance. That's all that matters. But you got to see something out of Janai Broom. And I think that's going to play dividends if you're going to continue to feel confident and move forward, that your superstar has to show up because everybody else is starting to elevate their game.
Does their superstar have to show up? Because that's the beauty that's been this Auburn team, is that they're so flexible in that they can destroy you with pickup person, whether it be a Janai Broom, whether it be a Dylan Cardwell, or Chad Baker-Mazar, or maybe even a Denver Jones, or, if we're feeling like it, we can make it a Tahad Pettiford. The flexibility that this Auburn team has had and has shown, even though they kind of struggled heading into the postseason. I mean, they were still number 1 overall seed because everyone's like, well, yeah, they're absolutely the best team because not only they have that depth, but they have the capability of anyone going off. And yeah, you kind of want your stars to show up because they're generally the reason they got you there. But if it ain't on and cracking, then somebody's got to be able to do it. And thankfully, so far, it looks like everyone has been able to step up. And even Chad Baker, who had, 17, I think. I only know that because I looked up the stats. It didn't feel like he had 17.
Right.
Yeah, he had a couple of big shots, but 17 2 total rebounds and an assist. Like, it was very, very pedestrian. And yeah, those were some big important points, but it was really Todd Pettiford that I don't want to say saved Auburn, but drugged them along when everyone else not everyone else, but when your 2 biggest stars didn't seem to be shining bright. But that's what I think makes this team great, is that, okay, Janon's not bringing it right now. So, okay, well, we'll let someone else shine now.
Yeah. It adds to the depth. I just think that for the big time players make big time plays in big time situations. And I just feel as though for somebody that's in the National Player of the Year running, he hasn't really shown it when your team needs it the most. Now you look across and you see Cooper Flagg and Duke. By God, it looks like Duke is on a absolute tear getting to the national championship game. But I do think that it does add to your depth when, again, like to your point, if your superstar doesn't necessarily give you the best, but you still found a way to win, yeah, that's really all that matters. And you flip it over to Alabama yesterday. After knocking off Robert Morris, they set up a matchup with St. Mary's after they knocked off Vanderbilt. And it felt as though this is what the Alabama team you've been waiting on to see. When multiple guys are in double figures, it feels as though the shot is starting to fall a little bit. And St. Mary's, it really didn't feel like it was a good matchup for them anyway. And Alabama took advantage of it. Now for Alabama, you did most of your damage inside the 3-point line, and also St. Mary's couldn't really buy a shot. And when you're going 7 for 17 from 3, but you get to the free throw line 20 times, you make 15 of them. I think that for Alabama, for all the question marks we had right there towards the end of the season, I do think that Auburn win kind of woke everybody up a little bit. I mean, you got a Grant Nelson sighting, and ever since then, he started to elevate his game, even going through injury, and having some big plays in that Robert Morris game. All it did was kind of snowball into what they've been able to do with St. Mary's, as Alabama knocks off St. Mary's 80-66, and you shoot above 50% from the field. You go 41% from 3, 75% from the free throw line. Altogether, I think it was a collective win. And you've got, LeBaron Philon showing up, giving you 6. You had Mark Sears giving you 12. Chris Youngblood, Aiden Holloway. It was what you wanted to see. The one thing I will say about Alabama is still those early turnovers. And I think that for teams that match up with Alabama, if you can withstand a run and also make some shots in between, you feel like you have a chance. And I don't think St. Mary's really got that luxury, because Alabama was making it difficult for them on the defensive side of, okay, their shots aren't falling even when they do have wide open opportunities. And then when Alabama stepped up on the defensive side, it made it that much tougher for them to find a way to claw back into the ball game. But if you're Alabama as a 2 seed, you find yourself in the Sweet 16, third time in a row. And now you can say that the state of Alabama, it's a basketball state now, because of the fact that we have 2 teams represented in the Sweet 16, and you feel like now, especially now when you look at everybody that's left in the pool. And one thing I love about the NCAA tournament, in one weekend it went from 64 teams feeling like they legitimately had a chance to win a national title to now you have 16 of the best teams playing, because really and truly, chalk failed all the way through besides Arkansas, which,
if I remember correctly, I remember listening to 3-Man Front, and Molly had a couple of props heading into the tournament. How many, certain seeds would make it, how many of this, how many of that, whatever will we see. And one of them was how many buzzer beaters will we get? Yeah. And I think the over-under was 3.5. Everyone was like, over, easy. Oh, please, that would be over. I think we only had one. Yeah. And that was last night. But I think that's the only one. Now, granted, technically, I don't know if the one in the Alabama State one, I don't know if that one counts, because there was still 0.7 of a second. Right. But that's the closest. That's the only one we really had, the last shot to go in right at the buzzer with under a second left up until last night's game. So it's as wild as it's been. It's also been rather tame. And yes, we saw some upsets. Yeah, we saw probably 2 massive upsets, but also they don't feel all this like, okay, well, that's not all that surprising. Right. So as wild as this tournament has been so far, as much madness has been, it really hasn't been all that much. It really hasn't. And to your point, I think Arkansas is, as crazy as it may seem,
that we're looking at an Arkansas team led by John Calipari as the quote unquote Cinderella, only because they're the only double digit seed left in the Sweet 16. So to me, it's not really a Cinderella run. It's Coach Cal has elevated. He usually turns his team up. Now you look at the grand scheme of it when he was at Kentucky, there was a lot of meat left on the bone. But he's a great coach, and he matched up with Rick Pitino with St. John's as the number 2 seed and knocked him off. Now, was it an ugly ball game? 1,000%. Felt like couldn't nobody make a shot. But Arkansas just found everything that they've shown in the regular season with just how gritty they are. It's not a pretty sight. You feel like you just got beat up for 40 minutes in a ball game, and that's what played into the factor that they beat St. John's with. And St. John's identity was kind of, all right, we're good on the basketball front, and also if we need to be physical, we can. But Arkansas was just making those little plays in between, diving after loose balls, getting those important offensive rebounds off free throws. And now they find themselves in the Sweet 16 when they were almost fighting just to get into the tournament all the way up until the SEC tournament. So I think that when you look at just the landscape, because we had a feeling that Kentucky was going to find themselves in this position, Tennessee handling their business early on. But I think when you look at even Ole Miss knocking off Iowa State, which a lot of people didn't necessarily have, but it doesn't feel like a surprise because of Chris Beard's success as a head coach in the NCAA tournament. All in all, to say this, for anybody that has ever questioned the SEC of how dominant that it was in the regular season, you're seeing it now in the NCAA tournament when we entered with 14, you have half of them now, the 7 in the Sweet 16. It's very blue blood driven. And I think that, you can look at the transfer portal, you can look at NIL of, okay, there's a lot of big brands still left. And to be honest, it really does feel like you can have an argument for all 16 teams in the Sweet 16 right now that you can find them in the Final Four and it not be it wouldn't be necessarily surprising to see those teams there.
And not only does the depth being shown that, yes, how much of the SEC is making up the Sweet 16, but how many of the teams that shouldn't be there. It's, okay, Auburn's there, Alabama's there, Florida's there, Tennessee. Okay, yeah, well, I fully understand they're top 4 seed. The top 4 seeds should all be there. But you have a 6 seed in Ole Miss that led for basically 30 minutes of that 40-minute contest. Yep. It was back and forth for the first 5, 10 or so minutes, and then Ole Miss went on like a 7-8-0 run and then never looked back. Obviously, with Arkansas more or less having their way with St. John's,
right,
and just really kind of coming out and dominating, and so kind of early on it looked kind of, I don't want to say weak, but it looked like, oh, okay, maybe the SEC is overrated. But okay, so Baylor beat Mississippi. I mean, that's an 8-19. That's kind of supposed to happen. Georgia, okay, well, Georgia just got mollywopped with that. So yeah, I mean that was going to happen. But again, that was an 8-9 matchup. Yeah. So most of the teams that you didn't expect to be, like UConn, who
gave Florida everything they wanted.
Absolutely right. But I mean, that was a relatively easy game for them. But okay, we felt early on that it looked like the SEC was going to struggle. Well, how you like me now?
Yeah. And I think that even with Michigan knocking off Texas A&M, Texas A&M they were up by, I think, 11 at one point. And once Trey Donaldson, I think he hit either him or the other guy, they hit a 3. And you started to feel like, okay, Texas A&M is slowly letting this thing get out of hand. And Michigan they got on runs. And that's the thing about just the sport of basketball. It's a game of runs. If you can withstand them and still find yourself with some wiggle room, you can't give other teams hope with the last 4 minutes of a basketball game. And that's exactly what Texas A&M did. They let them come back, tie it up before that last media timeout, and then Michigan just started to roll, and they end up knocking them off 91-79 to set up their matchup with Auburn and Atlanta on Friday. And I just think that when you look at all of the matchups that we saw over the weekend and some teams that didn't necessarily surprise you, but I look at, what Creighton was able to do with Auburn. Like, that was a dogfight all the way through. It's just when Auburn started to lock down defensively and it felt like Creighton was starting to press, that's when Auburn started smelling blood. That's when you got the Tahad Pettifords getting aggressive because they were in a bonus rather early and they finished up at the free throw line. So I think that all of the matchups that we saw in the opening weekend, one, believe what your eyes have shown you the whole regular season of the SEC. it's right there in front of us. There's a reason why there's 7 teams in the Sweet 16 and making up so much of the field. But it was a lot of fun this weekend. How's your brackets looking? What were your takeaways from the weekend? 205-834-9450. Your text messages, your calls, always welcome as we continue to just recap what we saw and kind of take a little bit of a preview of the Sweet 16. 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5.
All right, Damien, all your rock training has gotten you to this moment right here.
I'm trying. I'm trying. This Creed.
All right, I'm going to say this. It's a little unfair because it's neither,
Oh,
but it's one of the singers. You should know the voice. That's why I said the voice, your training has gotten you to this moment.
is it the lead singer from Creed?
No,
Yeah.
you still chose the wrong one. This is a band called Temple of the Dog with the lead singers of not only Soundgarden, which you should know, but of Pearl Jam. This is Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. This is his voice. You should hear it now.
Okay, so yes.
Right.
Yes. My apologies. My apologies. I was fighting.
Like, I knew you weren't going to get it, but because I knew you wouldn't know the name of the band, but I'm like, all right, if you've truly learned and if you've truly figured things out, you should recognize the voice and be like, oh, if you said Pearl Jam, I'd have given it to you because it's like, okay, it's the same guy.
Oh.
Like, it's oh, hey, that's Bruno Mars. Hey, that's Silk Sonic. I'd have given it to you. It's okay.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
But nope. Guess you need a little more training.
Got to. Welcome back in the morning, JOX. JOX 94.5, David Mitchell alongside John Saber. Conrad will be back tomorrow. Lance takes it and he says, D, you tried hard. I know you did. I did, man. I tried to lock in. It's just got to dive into the tape a little bit more. Got to. I feel like I was at the free throw line and just missed a 1-of-1, man. Defensive rebound. They're going back on the other side. That's my fault, y'all.
Hit a 3.
We're having some fun here, just kind of getting your reaction over the weekend, how your brackets are holding up. Now we have the Sweet 16 set in the NCAA tournament. Auburn will be taking on the 5th seed Michigan Wolverines. Ole Miss will be taking on Michigan State. We have Florida, who will be taking on the Maryland Terrapins, the 1-4 matchup. And then a surprising one at the 10 seed, the Arkansas Razorbacks will be taking on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And you flip it over to the other side, we have an SEC battle with Kentucky taking on Tennessee, Houston taking on Purdue, Alabama looks forward to welcoming the Mormons of BYU, and then Duke and Arizona, which should be an exciting matchup of the Sweet 16 this weekend. And I think that when you look at just kind of how the field is, Houston, I'm not going to say they escaped, but they made the game a lot closer than it needed to be with Gonzaga. And shout out to Gonzaga for fighting all the way through. And some mistakes by Houston late in that ball game. You were on the absolute cusp of blowing it, but you found a way to hit a shot, get some. And the defensive side for Houston is what's going to keep them in ball games because they're just so feisty and athletic. They play the passing lanes. They get up on you. They are not afraid to, pretty much just be in your jersey of sticking onto you. But I think that their matchup with Purdue, McNeese was kind of rolling on that. They were probably going to be the most, I guess, they would have been the questionable Cinderella team if they would have continued because it would have been, okay, Will Wade is already checked out to go to new NC State.
You would think, but he's still collecting checks here.
Right.
He's still got this. If he wants to go to NC State so much, so badly, so quickly,
yeah,
he'd have lost our first one. No, he's still trying to win.
And I think that NC State is definitely getting a good coach. I think Will Wade, with everything that happened with LSU, they call it NIL now. But when the FBI gets involved, that's where you're like, you kind of a
bridge too far. Yeah, a little bit much.
A little bit
Jeremy
much.
Pruitt. Just wait a little bit. All you have to do is just wait a little bit more. You'd have been fine.
He was ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
he was ahead of the curve just a couple years too early. But when you look at the Sweet 16, I think we do get some interesting matchups. Of course, we get Tennessee and Kentucky. Just an SEC battle we've seen all regular season long, and just showing the dominance. And an SEC team will be eliminated by default. But I think what everybody is kind of looking at is this Arkansas team, especially with the way that they beat up on St. John's and the matchup with Texas Tech. I mean, Texas Tech getting by Drake, going shot for shot, essentially of just like, hey, we're better than y'all. We're about to show you. And I think that the hot start that they had in that first half really kind of just set the tone for everything that they're going to be looking forward to with this matchup with Arkansas. And I think for Auburn and Alabama both, if you're Alabama, you're kind of looking in the mirror with this BYU team because they get up and down the floor. They're going to take a bunch of threes. I think that matchup is going to be about who makes their shots when it matters most because both teams are good enough to get on runs. It's just, okay, who's going to have that edge and make a stop defensively? And I think for Duke and Arizona, I have Arizona in my Final Four in one of my brackets. I have them going, and actually, this is the upset that I have. They're knocking off Duke. Now, having watched Duke the past two games, if you don't stop Cooper Flag, I don't see a way of you pulling this one out. But this Duke team, after watching all of the games and all the matches that we've seen, I think Duke is really showing why they're a number one seed, because they go out there and handle their business. Like, you can say Houston has as well with their first two matchups, but it's one of those things. Duke is removing all doubt from the jump. They're not even giving the team a chance to even make it interesting or make it close. I mean, Baylor is a good basketball team, and they get beat by 23 points. And I think that what Cooper Flag has done, he's 100% healthy, and the pieces around him, they are showing that, okay, one, the ACC as a whole was just bad, but Duke really separated themselves from the bunch, even within a bad conference. They have shown that, okay, no, we are one of the best teams in basketball, not just in the ACC. We're one of the best teams in basketball. And what they've done the first two games of the NCAA tournament, they've shown that.
So overall, how is your bracket looking? Like, are you happy? Or are you fine? Or you're like, oh, you know what? It's spring football season for me, because on two corners of my bracket, they look nice.
Right.
Your top left with Auburn, that whole quadrant, I've only missed one. I had Louisville, and Creighton got it. Okay, fine, but that's the only game I've missed so far. So I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good there. Bottom right with Houston and Tennessee, I had Xavier upsetting Illinois. So I'm like, all right, okay, Illinois got that one, but I had Xavier moving on to the Sweet 16. So obviously I've missed those two, but everything else in that portion looks pristine. Now the other two,
I'm right there with you.
It's not so much in your top right, where the East, where Duke. I have Wisconsin upsetting, not only upsetting Duke, but losing in the championship game. So that one's I got one out of them, so we'll at least take that. And I also had Oregon kind of moving on, but okay, you know what? That's fine. And then your bottom left, at St. John's,
I'm cooked.
Making so that one's done. Had Memphis moving a good bit. I still got Florida and Texas Tech, but I had St. John's coming out of that region, so it all just relies on Auburn right now winning it all. Otherwise, although I did see someone put out a tweet, and with that meme of the old man kind of standing up and trying to say the one thing that not a lot of people agree with, but said something. I was, all right, you know what? I think I agree with. Your bracket's not busted till you lose your champion.
True.
I'm like, you know what? Yeah. All else fails. If I pick the champion right after all this, I feel like I've won. So, all right, Auburn, don't let me down.
I think I'm okay. I have 3 of the 4 teams I have in the Final Four still have a chance. Arizona, again, it's a tall task. So I'm kind of banking on them. But Auburn and Houston, I still have fighting for me. But I had St. John's in the national championship game, losing to Houston, and it's like St. John's won't even be making the trip. So hope they enjoy their offseason.
It was nice to see Rick Pitino watching the son play, because he ain't got nothing else to do. But
I think that overall, a couple of my brackets are okay. And by that logic, that your team's not busted if unless your champion gets eliminated. I think I'm still good there, because I do have Houston winning it all. But I'm telling you, man, Duke, and again, I think Auburn shows that they're probably the deepest team in the tournament, because to John's point earlier, they're doing this in spite of Janai Broome not being, the usual Janai early on, but they still found a way. Duke probably looks like the best team so far, because they're playing up to that number one seeded level. And again, when you beat a number 9 Baylor, who is a good basketball team, by 23 points, you're kind of starting to see that, okay, they're starting to separate. And I give a lot of credit to Florida too, because that was a great ball game with them and UConn. And UConn being a 2-time defending national champion, for everything that we had question marks about them in the regular season of they're just not putting it all together yet, or they pretty much just tired from the past 2 years. Well, they gave Florida everything and then some. Like they hit Florida in the mouth. They showed that championship mentality and that championship effort. They just fell short to a better basketball team in Florida. And right now, if right now, if you're Maryland, you are kind of looking at it as, all right, we've made it this far. Yes, we know what's on the other side. We have got to stop Walter Clayton Jr. because if he gets hot, and I think what he's been able to do, if you hadn't really paid attention to him in the regular season, what he's really starting to show you is that he's an all-around player, both on the offensive side and the defensive side as well. I think that his shot making, his shot creation is something I even took for granted in the regular season of, no, he's a walking bucket. Like, he can go out there and give you 25 with ease. And just some of the shots, I mean, he takes the tough contested shots and he makes them. He gets to the cup. His 3-point shooting is elite. And I think that what he's doing is really showing the world that, all right, this Florida team, we can go out here and win these things. And they're peaking at the right time. And now they're starting to put their, the money where their mouth is, man, because if Arkansas pulls off the upset and knocks off Texas Tech, we could be seeing another potential SEC matchup in the Elite Eight. So altogether, we're starting to see some separation of what we saw in the regular season from the SEC was not a fluke. Like, this wasn't just a one-off. They're starting to get better at the right time. And I mean, it goes no further to say where to number 10 seeded Arkansas is finding themselves. And I think if Tennessee as well, the first two games for them, knocking off Wofford the way they did. And also, I mean, UCLA brought the fight to them as well, and Tennessee still found ways to go over the hump. So I just think that when you look at the landscape, all 16 teams truly have a chance of making a deep run, and it wouldn't be necessarily a shocking surprise to anybody because these are 16 of the best teams playing in college basketball right now. And we've got this weekend to see it all happen, man. It's been fun. We'll continue on the other side, getting your reaction, your text message, your calls, 205-834-9450, recapping over the weekend, also taking a look at the Sweet 16. Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:36 here on Morning JOX. JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell, John Saybear here with you, recapping everything that went on over the weekend in the NCAA tournament. Also getting your reaction on the JOX phone line, text lines 205-834-9450. If there's anything that we've seen over the weekend, it's hard to stop Duke, John, but that's not the only thing it's hard to stop.
Absolutely. It is hard to stop a train. And for flu, pollen, and allergy season, make sure to keep your home cleaner with Train's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those contributing to allergy and virus, and is proven more effective than the standard and HEPA air filters. Contact a Train certified dealer for the Clean Effects Air Cleaner. Thanks to Train. And before we get to the phones, remember you can call in or text in 205-834-9450. That's 205-834-9450. I want to go ahead and give you the slate of games that will get underway on Thursday and Friday to start off the Sweet 16. Right out the gate, Alabama's the first one. I don't know what network they're on. My guess is the first one will be CBS. But Thursday, 6:09 p.m. tip, Alabama will take on BYU. In about 30 minutes after that, will be, oops, just lost it, sorry. There it is, Maryland taking on Florida. That would be about 6:39 p.m. on Thursday. And then after Alabama and BYU will be Arizona and Duke. That'll be about 8:39 or so p.m. And your late game on Thursday will be Arkansas versus Texas Tech. On Friday, out the gate will be Michigan State and Ole Miss, followed by Auburn and Michigan. That will be your late game on Friday. Auburn taking on Michigan 8:30, and then your other early game on Friday, Kentucky, Tennessee, followed by Purdue and Houston. That'll be your absolute late game on Friday for your Sweet 16.
I'm telling you, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It'll be late nights too.
Yeah, buddy. But it's going to be an absolute barn burner. It's got Sweet 16 down to the Elite 8. And then next week, we got Final Four and the National Championship. It's just so fast. It happens so quick. All these teams, I'm telling you, it went from 64 teams truly feeling like, hey, all we got to do is win this one, and we'll worry about the next one right after that. But they all felt like they had a chance to win a national title, and now we're down to 16 just after one weekend.
And you mentioned before how this being a basketball state. Yesterday, UAB found a way down, I think, 22 or 27 at one point to not only get the win over Santa Clara, 88-84. They will be playing again. They'll take on UC Irvine on Wednesday, 8 p.m. tip. So that'll be another late game. Coverage for that will be on JOX 2, 100.5 at 7:30. You can watch that game on ESPN if you'd like. But UAB has had 2 games on the road in the NIT, won both by 4, and now, honestly, might as well just stay out in California because no point in coming here instead of going all the way back, losing that time. You're already used to the time change. You're already used to the weather. Just stay out there, man. Absolutely. But kudos to UAB for keeping that thing rolling behind Yaxel Lindeborg's 22, and he has the most rebounds ever in UAB history.
There we go. 205-834-9450. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's start off in Tuscaloosa with our buddy John. Wants to talk some ball with us. What's going on this morning, John?
Not too bad, fellas. Good morning. Good morning. So far, my bracket's looking pretty good. I got 15 out of the 16.
Hey.
BYU was the only one that kind of upset me a little bit. I had VCU making it to this far just because that should have been an ugly matchup, but BYU handled it pretty good.
Oh, man, you had Arkansas in the Sweet 16?
Yes, I did.
Oh, man.
I've got all of my Elite 8, all of my Final Four, and my champions in there.
Hey, there we go. John knows ball, dog.
That worries me, though, because 3 years ago I was perfect all the way up to the Sweet 16 and lost all 8. So,
oof. Just like that.
It could change quick. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I said, I have all of my 8 still in, my Final Four and my championship team still in. I have Auburn and Houston meeting with Auburn winning. But I don't know. It's if we can't hit free throws, we may not make it past Sweet 16. That's been our big problem. And I don't know if we're getting selfish all of a sudden but it seems like key moments they're taking Janai. They're not giving him the ball, but every time we get behind, they get it to him, and then we get back in, and then they go away from him again. So I'm not sure what's up with that when y'all get to talk to Coach Pearl. I hope y'all ask him. I'll hang up, listen. Y'all guys have a great show.
You as well, man. We appreciate you.
One thing about Janai that should be noted, he's played in 6 tournament games.
Mm-hmm.
His entire career, Janai's in a 160-some-odd game career, he averages 16 points a game. This year, it's about 18. It's a little bit over 18 points. In just the tournament, he's only surpassed his average twice.
Really?
And only 1-1 in that. He had 24 points in that Yale game, and he had 19 points in the Iowa game a couple of years or so ago. Otherwise, he's had 14 twice, 10 points, and 8 points. So I'm not saying that he shrinks away whatever in that, but for the most part, you haven't gotten the best out of Janai in the postseason. Yeah. Now, the one time you did, you lost to Yale. So I say that to say I don't think Auburn's success is predicated on Janai putting up 30 and putting up 30-20 and having triple doubles, something just absolutely going off. Even if he just hits his average, that should be more than enough. But if he doesn't, that's not anything to be worried about because for the most part in the postseason, at least in the NCAA postseason, he hasn't.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. It's at some point it's going to click, and when it does, it's like it's almost like a sigh of relief. It's almost opposite of what we got from Grant Nelson this time last year in March. It's okay, like we know he can get it done, but then there's that one game against North Carolina. It's like, okay, that's the Grant Nelson we expected. And then so far he's done what he's needed to do in March. And I mean, he's battling injury, coming back and still making an impact. Your reaction, 205-834-9450. Alex says Alex, I will give him this. He's been saying that Arkansas was kind of like that sleeper team in the NCAA tournament, and he's got Arkansas and Duke in the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's really tough to see. It's tough to process because this Arkansas team also lost to South Carolina in the regular season.
Yeah, willingly, yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Which one are we getting? But Cal's just finding a way to get it done. Ryan from Coleman says, seems like Damian needs to move to North Carolina because he can't get off of Duke. He says, War Eagle, let's go. Let's go. The road to the championship. We got this with or without you, Damian. Well, Ryan, I hate to tell you what shirt I have on right now. It's an Auburn basketball shirt. I've just seen, my eyes have shown me exactly what Duke has done. It's just the first 2 games out of all the number 1 seeds,
they've looked the weakest. Yeah, they absolutely have. Like they've won to their credit,
right.
But it is survive in advance.
Yeah,
but when you have other number 1 seeds going out there and looking strong, when you're having 2 seeds that Auburn struggle against out there looking strong, it's like okay. And I said this before when Auburn lost to, I don't remember if it was Alabama or it was one of their losses. Oh, I think it was a Texas A&M game. It's not that I've lost faith in Auburn. It's that for the first time most of the season, I felt all season that Auburn was head and shoulders the best team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that they were going to win. I was fairly confident they were going to win the championship. But near the end of the season, especially when they lost in the conference tournament, doubt started to creep into where now I think it's possible they cannot win it.
Right.
I still think that they can, but it's more I think they can as opposed to I know that they will.
Mm-hmm.
So the doubt is in there, and the play that they've had. Heck, you heard it from the players themselves. Was it Dylan Cardwell that was calling everyone after that first game? Yeah, the players and coaches, everyone was calling. Stephen Pearl was out here saying that like Janai and Chad Baker was like, y'all got to step up. And as of late, Janai kind of had. Now Chad Baker was able to go off in that game, and Janai was effective. It's just not what we're used to seeing out of him. But Auburn still has my faith. I mean, I have them to win. Damon, you have them winning it all, don't you?
No, I have them losing in Final Four.
Okay, well, never mind. Yeah, I forgot you had abandoned ship. But we still expect Auburn to have a spectacular showing over these next several weeks.
Right. Like you said, it's not that we don't nobody's going to be surprised if they still make a run. It's just what we've seen through 2 games so far. They're the most questionable number 1 seed because I do think with Florida knocking off that UConn, it's they're primed and loaded, ready to go. Same with Houston. I don't really have any questions. Like the teams that they're quote unquote struggling with, I look at, okay, if Houston had matched up with Creighton, I think Houston would have beaten them convincingly. Not to say Auburn didn't beat them convincingly. It took them a while to finally get to that point where as like Duke has come out the gate and just beating the brakes off two teams, and it's like, okay, well they're out on a mission. And I think that for the two games that we've seen all number one seeds play, Auburn has the most question marks because of the fact that one, their number one guy hasn't necessarily kept that same level, but they still found a way to win. And at this point, so be it. No matter how pretty it looks, how ugly it looks, you found yourself in the Sweet 16. There are things that you can work on, and another thing too, you just got to go to Atlanta. You ain't got to hit a plane or anything. Like, you just take a couple hours trip east, and boom, that you're there. So it's not all hope is lost, but it's definitely worth like there's definitely some raised eyebrows, and also the health of Chad Baker Mazar, because we saw him go down late in that ball game. He tried to come back in and he was still fighting through the pain. So injuries has to play a certain concern as well. But who knows? That's why we play the game. That's why you roll them out and you play the game. But it should be exciting nonetheless. We'll continue with your text messenger calls on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:50 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell alongside John Saybear here with you for the top of the hour. And you said from McElroy and Kublik in the morning. But you'll hear some familiar voices on that side too. Have some fun. Then 3-man front from 10 to 2. And wrapping up with the Paul Feinbaum show from 2 to 6. So you want to keep it locked here on Jocks 94.5. We'll continue just reaction to the NCAA tournament. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's talk to our buddy Edward and Calera. What's going on, Edward?
Hey, guys, this is Paradise Heaven, baby. Paradise Heaven. I'm watching every game possible. I mean, this is amazing. In the first round, I got 75%. The second round, I have 9 or 16. I thought that all the SEC teams they're playing really well. Alabama play well. Auburn they playing well. Like the different players outside Janai Broom. I think they're using Janai Broom to set up all their people to score. And I think when they need him, he's going to step up. So I think he's doing great. I think UConn in Florida, man, that game was like down to the wire. I think Duke looked like the best team, but I think overall, I think SEC is playing so well, and I think Auburn has so much. You know, they using him as a pick and roll. They use him to get people set up. So I think great things gonna come. I mean, I'm just loving the story, man. I can't get enough.
Yeah, because you had 9 brackets, right?
Yeah, I have 9 brackets. Yeah.
God.
That I'm telling you, gave me a headache, but I loved it.
Hey, I'm right there with you, brother, man. It's always fun, man. We appreciate Edward. Let's go to the resident Auburn fan on the phone lines. Let's go to Don. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing, John?
How you doing, Don?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. How about those Florida Gators, John? Like your favorite team?
Okay, sure.
No, I was just throwing a little barb at you with my buddy PG. I was texting PG the whole game, Damon. He's about to have a fit.
Hey, but they pulled it out, man. It was ugly, but boy, it was exciting.
They did. But hey, what you guys are talking about with Broom, got a question for you, Damon, because I know you played a little ball and everything. I don't think he can get off the ground like he was with that ankle. I think he's having. I mean, he can't even hardly get off the ground.
See, I'm kind of past that point now because of the fact that he's played on it for so long. He had risk coming into the NCAA tournament. Now I just think that he's just not hitting the shots. I think it's just more of just he's just not hitting the shots.
No, sir, he's not. And Lord help me, he can't make a free throw anymore either.
That's going to come back to bite him, man.
Oh, absolutely. And buddy, I mean, I know, I was in Biloxi this weekend. It came back and bit me when I had them had money on them on Thursday. I think they went 18 out of 32 Thursday, I think.
Did you come back with more money than you left with?
Oh, absolutely not. No. And I'm going to tell you, this is crazy. This is crazy, Damien. I'm in a casino in Biloxi, Mississippi. Saturday night, and my goodness, I don't know where Molly would have been proud. There was nothing but Nebraska people in there, man. There were about 20 people from Nebraska in there.
What were they doing?
Well,
the
one
boredom.
good thing
It's
is
Nebraska.
No, they were Creighton fans, and I kind of felt sorry for them. They did lose. Auburn did cover on Saturday night, by the way.
You beat them and you felt sorry.
But anyway,
for them?
guys, I know. Well, I'd already, Damien, they
not doing it. You beat the team. You're seeing their fans there, and you felt bad for them. It's the NCAA tournament, dog.
This is your homeboy.
It's like better you
Y'all
than me.
broke bread at an Auburn game. By the way, to that person that time that Damien went to an Auburn game earlier this year, escorted by Don. There's no bigger Auburn man than Damian Mitchell. Come on now.
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm rocking with Duke because I made it some texter bad because I'm talking about how good they look. I was like, have you not watched all the number 1 seed? They look like the best one. Somebody said is Janai still the MVP? I think so. I still think everything he did in the regular season, he just ain't showing up in March. Just got to tighten up, man.
I mean, Steph's probably the MVP of the Warriors. How many finals MVP does he have?
Right. I mean, it happens, man. Who knows? But hey, we're having some fun. McElroy and Kublik in the morning. It's next.